Hey everyone, and welcome to this demonstration about the SoftFIRE PrivaCity project that from HOP Ubiquitous we have developed. My name is José Luis López Bellido and I will be your narrator in this video. As you can see from our PrivaCity project, the project is trying to ensure the scalability and the privacy in IoT deployments. We have some objectives that you can see in our first draft about the PrivaCity project, and also we have described the KPIs that we have already tested, and in this video we are gonna give you an overview about those KPIs. In our company, we have developed our own platform for device management and device monitoring, talking about IoT devices, of course, that use the HOMA lightweight machine-to-machine protocol. We are gonna give you an overview about our platform, as you can see here. Okay, so now here we are gonna go to the device management tab, and here you can see as an example the UTG. That is a smart spot that offers many information about the IoT HOMA lightweight machine-to-machine objects, and we can monitor every one of them in our HOMA platform. But now, going back to the subject, we're going to show an overview of the deployment that we have made in the SoftFIRE infrastructure in order to make our experiments. We have performed a deployment in iperf infrastructure, as we can see in the wiki that is really complete. Here is the iperf tutorial for NFB. As we can see here, we have to make the directories file Tosca metadata. And now we're gonna go to the experiment manager dashboard, so we can see how the deployment is made. Okay, everything is already deployed, but from the beginning we should reserve the resource. But as I told you, it's already deployed. We have the external and internal APIs, and the status of every virtual machine is active. So we can start. Now we're going to set up all the software that we need for experiments. As I told you, the first of all that we need to use is a standalone OMR. We are going to use two versions in order to test the RTT between servers. Taking into account that we have the internal APIs and the floating APIs, we can perform SSH connection to the virtual machines, to the server and the client. Now, taking into account those two terminals, SSH with the FirePen, that is our certificate that we generated with Nova. And now we are ready to perform every test. Okay, now that we are ready, we're gonna perform the first test. The first one is about the global mean RTT that we have between servers. And we are gonna use a standalone modified OMR version for tests each 5 seconds. The floating APIs of our servers. The virtual object will be connected to from the client to the server. So now we are going to deploy the OMR version for each 5 seconds to get the measures. Java-jar. And the server will be already running. Now in the client, we're going to use the virtual object client to connect to the API or the server in the internal SoftFIRE infrastructure. The virtual object needs information about the API, the IP. Insert IP and port. And the port is the lightweight machine-to-machine co-op one. Now they are already connected. And in a few seconds we should see the measures in the server prompt. Let's wait for a second. It's not gonna get too long. As we have told, it's a normal. Here we have the first measures of the RTT. It's 5 seconds. That's how we can see it's really acceptable in the deployment. And now in the Omar platform that is already in production, we can see the global RTT that we have in the health monitoring module. Latency, round trip delete time. So we can see it's not really acceptable. In the SoftFIRE infrastructure, it's really better. Now it's time to get to the second test to get the RTT in a standalone Omar platform modified for perform 1,000 petitions in a matter of 5 seconds in order to do a stress test. Okay, so right now we have as you can see here, the Omar version that is modified for making 1,000 petitions to the device, to the virtual object. We are going to run it. And as the same in the first demonstration with the Omar standalone for a petition is 5 seconds, you have to insert in the virtual object the IP and the port. It will be already running. And then we only have to wait. And it will be showing values in a few seconds. And now we have the values here. As you can see, as a stress test, it's a stress test, but the RTT, okay, it's already stopped. The RTT that we are having is quite acceptable, and the average is really good. That is still better than in the first deployment that we had in the Omar platform. Following with our test, we are going to see how many network hosts we have between our servers in the internal SoftFIRE network. It's performing a simple test route test. We can see that we have 2 network hops. That is a really good measure in an AAT deployment. If the data only has to perform 2 network hops, that will mean that we have a more secure deployment. And now the minimum bandwidth needed for the deployment. First of all, we need to know which is the bandwidth that we have between our servers and clients. So we are going to use the iperf application in order to know that. Iperf and the IP. Oh, we had to go dots. Yeah, was a mistake, sorry. It's already performing the test. As we can see, we have a really good bandwidth between threads, 82 megabytes per sec. And now with the nload application, we are going to test the minimum bandwidth needed for the deployment. We are going to use the normal Omar one with only one virtual object connected in second plan in order to in order to can use the end-load application that we had talked about. That this is an application that monitors the input and output bandwidth that we are using, the outgoing and incoming. Right now it's quite low, and we are going to connect the client in order to see if it is growing up or not, becoming higher or not. The average right now of the outgoing is small, and the incoming as well. And now we are performing the queries to the virtual object. As we can see, the average is not really higher. So the deployment doesn't need a really strong bandwidth in order to work. Thank you for your attention. This is all in this quick demonstrated video. You will see a full extended review in the report of the project.